you need your little thingamajigger?
Probably not, but just in case.
Oh, Alexi.
Alright, friend. Thanks for meeting with me and being flexible about your free time. I want to jump into the lesson I observed Tuesday, I think it was.
Yes.
So I was really excited to see you using the Everybody Writes strategy. We had just talked about that before break. And it was awesome to see you had this graphic organizer, and we're introducing it to your kids. What do you think the positive impact of this strategy has been on your kids?
The accountability of doing like the turn and talks, like even though some kids may not know the answer, when they're doing their turn and talks, they hear the ideas from their other friends, and then they're able to implement what they heard and place it on the organizer, which is still holding them accountable for even listening.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Then, and in turn, you know, like being able to show their evidence and everything like that from the text and forcing them to show their evidence, not just talking about it, has really helped them with showing their evidence and questions and stuff like that.
Cool. So turn and talks have been more effective.
Yes.
And then they're showing their evidence, which was kind of like the gap we had talked about. So it seems to be working.
And it seems also even like more engaging because it's a wipe off marker and like those are gold for them. So it's just giving them something new that to introduce to them, and they've really enjoyed it so far. So
awesome, good. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. So today, what I want to talk about is kind of how you introduced using this strategy with your kiddos and how you set them up to use the new tool. So when you think about introducing like a new graphic organizer or a new procedure for your kids, what do you think are the most important things that you need to either say or do to set them up for success?
I think that something that we both identified, even like during the lesson, I turned to you and verbatim said, I should have modeled this. Like, I definitely talked about it and showed them and pointed to the sections and stuff like that, but I didn't explicitly go through a question of my own. Even if it wasn't on the lesson, I should have chosen something that I could have modeled it verbatim on like what goes where. And so when they were doing it, there was some confusion. And something I think I should have even done with that is I should have stopped everyone. And I think I should have been like, all right, my bad. I'm going to show you exactly what I want you to put on it. And I think that would have been more smooth. But since then, they've been more accustomed to it and I've been able to model it. And yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think, exactly right. Like as I was watching, you did say like, we're gonna do something new. You built the excitement, you showed them this organizer, you talked them through it. But I think because you didn't model a specific question, that's where they got confused. So that's what I want to talk about today is how we can model how to use this organizer so that tomorrow's lesson and the next lesson is even stronger and kids, because what's the problem is like the technicality of how to do this is holding them back from doing it super effectively, right? So let's so what I want to do is hone in on that. And so since you're the first second grade teacher that's using Everybody Writes strategy, I don't have a video of another teacher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to live model how I would introduce this for kids. So the first question you asked them was like, how did people get to the protest, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to model with that question. And as I'm modeling, I want you to watch for what I say, what I do, what I emphasize for students, and what questions I ask them during the model.
Same.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. I'm Miss Abdallah now. All right, guys. So today we're going to use a new strategy called Everybody Writes. What's it called?
Everybody Writes.
Right. And what you're going to do today is you're actually going to practice writing your answers to our questions that we've been asking ourselves. And I made this cool new organizer. Everybody take a look at it. This is what we're going to use today. What do you see when you look at this organizer, Nadia?
I see 2 columns.
2 columns. Yeah, there's a column over here that says answer, complete sentence, and what do you see over here?
It says evidence with page number.
Evidence with page number. So what we're going to do today is we're going to practice using these columns to answer our question. Here's our first question. How did people get to the protest? How did people get to the protest? We have two jobs. We have to find our answer, and then we have to find our evidence in the text with the page number. So first I'm going to start looking for my answer. How did people get to the protest? I'm going to open my book, and I'm going to look for information about how people got to the protest. Oh look, on page 1, right here, it says people used buses, trains, and cars to get to the protest. I need to put my answer somewhere. Calling a different student. Jose, where do you think I should put my answer when you look at this chart?
Under where it says answer.
Awesome. So I'm going to write that right now. I'm going to model this like on the doc cam. People used buses, trains, and cars. Now it says evidence with page number. Watch what I do here. I look at my book. I find where my evidence was. Oh, it was on page 1. So I'm going to write on page 1, it says, and I can even just say, they used, what does it say? I have the page on the doc cam. What does it say, Joey?
They used cars, trains.
Good. Cars, trains, and buses. Awesome. Now I'm going to show you one more way that you could use this in case you're not using the text, but you're using the picture. Watch this. I'm going to turn to page 6, and I see a picture of a man. Do you remember this picture? No,
The roller skates,
yeah.
yes.
So, Michelle, what do you see in this picture?
Man on roller skates.
So, how does that relate to this question? How did people get to the protest?
People used roller skates.
Awesome. So, where would I write that? People used roller skates.
In my answer.
Right, because it is an answer and it's a full sentence. So, people used roller skates. Now, this is a little different because I need my evidence with my page number. Well, my evidence is different, Ariane. How is my evidence different?
It's not in the text, it's in a picture.
Awesome. So I'm still going to say on page 6, and I'm going to say it shows me in the picture, right? Because in the picture, the man was on roller skates. So I'm going to write that here. So I just showed you how I use this to answer our question, how did people get to the protest? What I want you to do now, not yet, but when I say go, you're going to turn to your partner and you're going to tell them, what do we put in this column? Ready, go. Turn. What do we put in this column?
Answer.
Tell me a little bit more. Answer.
In a complete sentence.
Excellent. Good job. And stop. Awesome. So I heard Nadia. Nadia, what do we put in that first column?
Answer in a complete sentence.
I love it. Complete sentence. Now you're going to turn to your partner. Other partner goes first. What do we put in this column? I'm looking for 2 things. 2 things. Go. What do we put in this column?
Evidence with page number.
Evidence and page number. Excellent. That. All right, I heard those 2 things. One started with a on the count of 3. What is that? 1, 2, 3.
Evidence.
Awesome. The other one started with a on the count of 3. What is that?
Page number.
Perfect. Good job. So we have our evidence and page number. Now it's your turn, and you're going to use this organizer, but instead of answering this question, you're going to answer the question
Blank.
blah, blah, blah. And see.
Nice.
Like, not the first rodeo. All right. So, in watching that, what did you see me say?
I was so enthralled, I forgot to write.
I know, I'm very exciting. What did you see me say and do during the model?
Some of the main things was definite recall.
Mm-hmm.
You were thinking aloud everything that you thought of, which is a think aloud. You thought aloud. Something I like, you modeled both ideas in the sense of like if they were finding evidence in the text, you modeled it. If they were finding evidence in the picture, you also modeled that, and that's something that I have not done. So that's a really good thing to do. Have them turn and talk and give them specific questions on like how to just answer on the organizer, which is not part of the lesson, but it's going to set them up for more success because you're giving them guidance on like where things should go, and how much detail should go into that, which I think that's where they got lost.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Awesome. So the turn and talk was one way I asked questions. What other questions did I ask them?
Where things should go, what they were supposed to put,
Yeah.
and how it might sound, or like what the answer might sound like.
Yeah, definitely. Really trying to make sure that there's no confusion,
right.
so that like the structure of the graphic organizer is not holding them back, right? Okay. So based on that model and the kind of things you pulled out, what would you say was the biggest gap between what you saw me do and what you did in the lesson?
The entire thing of modeling. Just showing them, I told them, but I didn't show them.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of what I said could have been lost in translation, especially with ESL learners.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like you even said, like, I'm looking for two things and pointing to each section and stuff like that. So the redundancy of that was probably really helpful, especially for students who are at a critical level or aren't very accustomed to graphic organizers and stuff like that.
For sure, definitely. And so since this organizer is something that you're going to be using a lot,
I'm doing it like every lesson.
That's what I assume, and everybody writes as a strategy that we want the kids to really master. What I want to focus on today is having you model that, like practicing on your modeling it. So thinking about what you said and kind of the gaps you identified, what do you think your action step would be?
Most definitely to make sure that I'm explicitly asking where we put each part of information on the graphic organizer. Modeling what it might look like for a text question as well as a picture question.
Yep, awesome. So I just want to stamp your action step for you, and I'm going to have you write this down.
Yep. Hold on, let me get my notes out.
Yep.
And ready.
Okay, so you are going to model how to use the Everybody Writes graphic organizer.
Graphic is a hard word to spell. Okay.
So that students understand what information to put in each column and can use the organizer effectively to answer questions and cite evidence.
To answer questions and cite evidence.
Yep.
Cite S-I-G-H-T.
C-I-T.
Oh, wow. Way wrong.
It's a
Nem.
Okay, cite evidence, yep.
Okay.
So in order to do that, I think what you said is right. I'm gonna add a couple of things. The first thing is you have to have your exemplar graphic organizer for the lesson, right?
Set and ready.
Yeah, so that would be the first thing. So the how is create an exemplar graphic organizer. And that would be based on the lesson's TDQs. Then script out your model, which would be a think aloud. Of how students should answer the question by showing them what you expect in the left column. And then the second thing would be really similar. Script out your model via think aloud for how to cite evidence by showing them what you want in the right column. And I would say include an example of text and photo. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last step would be check for student understanding by having them explain to peers or to you what the steps are. Kind of how I said, okay, turn and talk, what goes in this column, what goes in that column.
Hi, Peyton, how are you?
By using turn and talks to gauge, is gauge the right word I want to use?
Yeah, to gauge
To
understanding
Understanding
how to
placing
use
evidence or how to use
the organizer, yeah. Okay, cool. Can you just read it back to me?
Step 1, create an exemplar based on lessons TDQ.
Mm-hmm.
2, script out my model, think aloud of how they should answer the question by showing what to expect in the left column. And then the next step is verbatim the same thing, but just doing it on the right column as well, but also including an example of text and photo.
Mm-hmm.
And then step 4 was check for student understanding by using Turner Talks to gauge understanding of how to use the graphic organizer, asking like where does information go.
Yep, perfect. So what I want us to do now is actually practice this for, I guess it would be Monday's lesson.
Yeah.
Do you have a Monday lesson on your computer?
No.
You don't? Because we're gonna need a TDQ. I have it on my computer. What lesson number?
Today is I think 4, I think Monday probably 5.
Usually how it works. Alright, so once I pull this up, what I'm gonna have you do is first create the exemplar for your model. So let me just get what the TDQs are. Model 4 lessons.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had to show Shorts how to do like Control F.
Yeah, I still don't know how to do that.
So if you want to look for something in a,
Oh, you've shown me before, I just never remember.
you just like Control F like as in find,
Yeah.
and in lesson 5 will take you straight there. Because Shorts was like going through each lesson. I was like, can I just show you something?
Let me do
is
this.
like lesson 11. I was like, we gonna be here all day. All right.
What's the?
Identify the main purpose of a text.
Okay. Oh, like I kind of went through. The thing about this lesson, which is kind of tough, is
Mhm.
that there, because I just did a TDQ question for it. It was. They don't really even ask the main purpose, so I don't even like the objective for this. It's not
Mhm.
so much the main purpose because they're talking like we have a question of like is it inform and all that kind of stuff, but
it looks
it's
like
a little
they're
bit confusing.
asking about how
What
do
are they informing us?
details
Yeah.
teach you about the main topic?
Yeah.
What details can you use to determine the main topic?
That it is informing us about blank, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
What words teach you about the main topic? Yeah, so like what do the words on page 40 to 41 teach you about the main topic? And the main topic is Martin Luther King Jr. in the March on Washington, and it has the sounds during his speech. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, I don't like, and I'm glad this is what we're talking about because it's a really confusing lesson.
Look at the exit ticket. What is the most likely reason the author begins the text with the ideas on page 1? So that is that's much more about author's purpose.
But the TDQs are not. That's why I'm like, I was like afraid that we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not geared towards what the objective is.
Right. So let me see the question.
So when I made this question, because I did this one to help Elisa, on the top I put, because kids are still even sometimes struggling with main purpose or author's purpose of entertain, persuade, or inform. So I included a question. Like that was one, and then the bottom was one of these, but I'm like, I still don't like it because it really doesn't.
So your first question was, what is the author's purpose?
And how do you know?
Yeah.
So I mean like.
That would be a good one to model, and then I'm wondering what another one would be.
To give them an opportunity. I would rather.
What if you just had them
one?
find the author's purpose of the different sections, like so that it's more than just inform, right? So like page 30-31, the author is trying to tell us about
what it looks
what
like.
the march looked like, and then what details show you that. And on 40 to 41, he's trying to tell us what it sounded like during his speech.
So really, this is author's purpose, but this is author's purpose for what does it look like, or it's informing us about what it looked like This one's informing us about what it sounded like.
I don't know if I would say inform. I think it's more describing what it sounded like. Do you know what I mean?
Or teaching, because informing is teaching. It's teaching
Right, but
us
a lot
what
of
it sounds
times on Star, it is not as clear cut as persuade, inform, entertain.
Okay.
Like the answers will be like, why did the author do this? And then the answers are usually like to describe something, to teach us about something. It's not usually just to persuade, to perform, to entertain.
Good to know.
Yeah, so I would like move a little bit further from that. And plus, like if you look at your star line exit ticket, to describe, to suggest, to inform, to explain.
Okay. So as a grade level, we're gonna need to expose them more to that because we've been really honing in on those like 3 terms.
Yeah. And I mean that is like a beginning of it, and that's not
Right.
terrible. It's just like describe is actually like often what Star is talking about is like the author's like painting a picture here, and so you could say informed. That's not the best answer, you know. Or sometimes it will be like, why did the author do blah blah blah, and it's like to compare and contrast different things. So it's like more than that. So I think you could still stick with that. I think you could introduce them to other ideas. Like here, the author is really trying to like paint a picture in her head. Like they're trying to describe something to us.
What are terms that, okay, you said
I think describe, explain, teach. Inform is definitely still there, but it'll usually just be explain. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that they're not just picking between like PIE.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, so what TDQ did you say that you wrote? It was, what is the author's purpose
Yeah.
for the
And
whole
that
section?
is strictly on, because they are still struggling on like what the terms persuade and entertain and inform are.
Yeah, so we could stick with that. So like,
Okay.
what is the author's purpose of, is it like of a specific section?
In the book in general.
Of the book, okay.
Yeah.
So what is the author's purpose of this book?
Which I think actually would be a good intro, because saying the author's purpose for the entire book and then dialing it back down to like, now what's the author's purpose for this section?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's good. Because the whole book isn't describing the march. It is
Right.
informing us about.
Right. Okay, what is the author's purpose of the whole text?
And then your
Oh,
right.
I have, hold on, attendance, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
That would be awesome. I don't know where
Oh, really?
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. So what is the author's purpose of the text? And then this would be the same thing, evidence with page number.
Yeah, because
Right.
they can pick anywhere from the
Mhm.
text. So, okay, I need to make my exemplar.
Yeah. Do you want me to go grab you a book?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Why don't
Yeah.
you start? They're just in your room.
They're in my room by my little podium where I stand.
Okay.
You'll see it's on my teacher kit.
Got it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do one as well, and then we can compare.
Okay.
Look at the safe. It's the safe. Because they're not going to use it.
Okay. So what did you have?
I put, for the text, cause I have a example for text and picture.
Mm-hmm.
The author's purpose is to inform / teach, because sometimes they interchange those.
Yeah.
About the March on Washington.
Yep.
And then the evidence portion with the portion, with page numbers. I know because on page 25, 26, it says, or it tells me information about what real people marching, it tells me information about what real people did. That sounds confusing, what I put. It tells me information on what real people did when marching to end Senator. So that's confusing. What should I put? It tells me information about what real people.
So here's 25 and 26. So what does it tell you?
It's telling us when they marched.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's telling me facts such as the date and the time.
Tells me facts about the date on the March to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then for the picture portion or the
Mhm.
photograph, again, the author's purpose is to inform teachers about the March on Washington. Evidence for a different one on page 36, 37, it shows me Martin Luther King Jr. giving his "I Have a Dream" speech.
Yep. Awesome. I did pictures and text as well. I used 25 and 26, but I used it for the picture.
Okay.
And I said the author's trying to teach us about Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. And on page 26 to 27, it shows me facts about the march, actual photos, and where they marched.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an actual photo of the march. And then for the text evidence, I said on page 4, which is the beginning of the book, it tells me the date, the setting, and the number of people that were marching.
Okay.
So I think anywhere where you can have, I mean, they could choose from any part of the thing. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So now you have what you're gonna model. So the next thing I want you to do is script out your model, and then we're gonna actually have you like practice rolling this out for them. Let me check to make sure we're still recording, because that would be really sad.
Okay. Yes. I do, I'm gonna have them turn and talk to their partner about what they see and notice about the graphic organizer. After that, do I model, say like, okay, now I'm gonna model what it looks like to fill it out, and then after that I do project for understanding. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then before your kids come back?
Yeah.
So then let's pause here and let's just jump into the role play.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do I have to stand up?
You should, because you'll be standing up for your kids, right?
Right. Okay. All right. All right, guys, so this is a new graphic organizer. I'm gonna use my notes too.
Yep.
This is a new graphic organizer we'll be using to show our evidence when answering questions. Now, before I start, I want you guys to turn and talk with your partner to see what do you see, what do you notice. I'm gonna put on the doc cam so everyone can see it nice and big. So, all right, when I say go, but not yet, turn and talk with your partner. What do you see? What do you notice?
Fast
Go.
forward.
Fast forward. But
Yeah.
okay. All right. Nicole, what do you notice about my graphic organizer?
There's 2 columns.
Yes. So I see one column right here, one column right here. And what does this first column say right here? Blank.
Answer and complete sentence.
Good. So anytime I have an answer, I'm going to write it in this column in a complete sentence. Now, blank. What do you see in this column?
It says evidence with page number.
Good. So there's going to be 2 things you're going to put here. You're going to write your page number and then the evidence on what did you find on that page number. It could be either about the text or about a picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to model what it looks like to answer a question first from the text. So my question is, what is the author's purpose of the whole text? So I'm going to go back to my book first. Think about my question. What's the author's purpose? So the author's purpose, now I'm going to find my evidence and I want to put my answer in the left column where it says answer in a complete sentence. So an author's purpose is, why did the author write this book? So I'm going to go to page 25 and 20, or I'm going to rummage through them a while.
So I would make sure you're making it really clear that you're not looking for evidence right now. Like right now is your general answer.
Okay.
Right? So like, I'm looking for the answer. I've read this book. I'm gonna ask myself what I know about author's purpose. Maybe have your anchor chart.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
what is the purpose of this book? Now, once you write that in your complete sentence, now I need to find my specific evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now I need to look at where can I find
Answer.
the answer? Where can I find the answer? So I'm going in the book. Look, on page 25 and 26, I see an answer in the text. It says, on August 28th, 1963 at 11:30 a.m., the March on Washington begins. So I just learned a fact about when the march was.
I'm gonna pause one more time. Watch this.
Okay.
Because you're getting, what you're doing
Getting
is
too
really
wordy.
good for column, the right column.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm in the left column and I need to know what is the author's purpose. I know when we talk about author's purpose, we're talking about persuade, inform, or entertain. When I think about this book and I skim through it, the author isn't persuading me. He's not giving me an opinion. It's not a story with like fake characters and problems and solutions. It's about facts and there are photos.
Mhm.
So I know the author's purpose is to inform me. And what is he informing me about? Well, he's informing me about Martin Luther King and the March on Washington. That's what all this book is about, and that's what the title is. That's my answer.
So I'm not even like really giving
Now
a
I need to find my
page number.
specific evidence, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for facts or
Okay.
photos, like that.
Yeah. So I have to think about what the author's purpose is. Is it persuade, inform, or entertain? Now when I look through this book, I see photographs, I see facts, I see information. So the author's purpose is to inform or teach us. Now where am I gonna, I'm gonna put my answer in the left column. It's to inform us about the March on Washington. Now my next step is to go, and where's my evidence?
Mm-hmm.
I have to find two things, my page number and what did it tell me or what did it show me. So on page, so I'm looking through, on page 25 and 26, I see that it gives me a date of when the march happened. So I'm gonna go back to my graphic organizer and I'm gonna put on page 25, 26, it tells me facts about the date for the march to Washington.
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah, perfect. So just be careful not to use the word evidence when you're talking about the left column,
Right.
because then that's going to confuse them.
Totally.
So I just need to, this is hard, right? Because you're like finding the whole topic.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. So this lesson is on Monday.
Correct.
So I'm going to try to come in on Monday to watch and how you roll out the, how to use this. Sound good?
Right on.
Cool. All right. Thanks, friend. Thanks for jumping into that with me. Good old MLK Junior.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to look at these at all? Okay.
Do you have everything?
Yes, I do. And do you have my other book? Did you have one?
I did have one. That's why I was. Oh, it's right there.
Okay.
That's why I was like, where did we go? All right. Thanks, lady.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
I have a manicure in 2 hours for an interview.
Oh yeah.
TEAs. They know.
Okay.
Yeah, TEA.
Okay. And what is that?